book review on video, this time On the Road by Jack Kerouac. I read it in an audio version in Norwegian. The book was published originally in 1957 in English. This edition was published in 2006, but I think the translation must be older. That probably is from the original publication of the book in Norwegian. I'm not sure when that was, but probably in the late 50s or very early in the 60s. The book was read by the actor Mads Ousdal. Okay, On the Road. I read the book in Norwegian, but I'm going to do the review in English because obviously it's an American book, and I'm sure a lot of English-speaking readers will have read this book. It was an audiobook, and it was read by the actor Mads Ousdal, who did a brilliant job of reading. I mean, he was fantastic. He sounded, a lot of the time, exactly like his father. It was actually kind of creepy, because sometimes I couldn't even tell if they had, in hindsight, said, oh, this is actually a collaboration, and section such and such were read by Sverre Ankerasson. I would have bought that totally. Their voices sound so much alike. So I was slightly distracted by that. But not enough to tear me away from the story, which was interesting and depressing. The plot is pretty simple in the sense that not a lot happens. The main character, Sal Paradise, the narrator, talking in the first person, this is in the second half of the 1940s. He's been in the war, and he's come back, and is having a hard time figuring out what he's going to do. Should he study? Should he get a job? Where should he live? Should he try to write a book? He is interested in becoming a writer, but also kind of struggling with it. We never hear what it is that he's writing. I mean, supposedly, perhaps, he's writing on the road, but his writing is just always really vague. And he travels back and forth across the United States, to Denver, to San Francisco, to LA, back to New York, goes down to Mexico, travels all over the place. So a lot of the book takes place on the road, obviously. And the book is just about his so-called adventures and things that happen to him and his friends. He has some friends who work things out for themselves and others who don't. The book talks about his feelings towards his friends and towards the things that happen. I can't honestly say that I like the book. I read it because it was picked as the book of the month in my book circle, my reading group, and also because the book is on the list of 1001 books you must read before you die, which I'm trying to work my way through. But the book didn't really speak to me. I found it to be, I don't know, is it meant to be like a celebration of the American dream and the freedom to live as you choose? I didn't feel anything celebratory about it at all. I felt that it was sad, and the lives of these men seem pretty meaningless. There's a lot of alienation, and I think that that is perhaps what the book really has to say to us modern readers, that modern life is mostly one big disconnect. There is really very little in a lot of situations to keep you from just drifting the way these men do. You're not tied to the land. You're not, to a great extent at least, tied to family. You can do what you want, but then the problem comes up, what if you don't want to do anything? The men in the story, they're mostly men. The main characters are men, and then there are women sort of on the sidelines who they have various relationships with. The men in the story, I felt, were quite pathetic. They really have no purpose. They have no goal. They keep traveling. They're always saying, oh, when I get to San Francisco or whatever, or I get to Denver, everything's going to be great. I'm going to do this and this and this. But they don't really do anything. I mean, it's just same old, same old. You know, whenever they get to where they're supposedly going, they're almost immediately displeased with being there and start to plan to go back again. And I feel that if the book is meant to celebrate the life on the road, it really fails, because I don't see anything to celebrate in that kind of lifestyle where all you're doing is you're just traveling for the sake of it in basically ways that leave you uncomfortable, cold, hungry, they damage your health, it's unsafe, you're at risk of violence and God knows what, and there's no goal. It feels like their whole existence is without a purpose. And I feel like that is really sad. I mean, I love to travel, but I always travel for a purpose. I'm going to some particular place, I'm going to see certain things, I'm going to meet certain people. And for me at least, that is what is gratifying about traveling. You know, I know that at the end of this road, I'm going to see the pyramids. You know, I'm going to be on the River Nile. I'm going to be in the Forbidden City. I'm going to meet a good friend. Something like that. Something that is actually a specific purpose. Whereas for these guys, Sal and his friends, they travel to get a new job, for instance. Then it turns out that the job is just shit and they don't want it anyway, or it's been given to someone else, or whatever. And they travel back, and it's just... The whole book to me was like a long chronicle of striving towards nothing. And I felt that the only real reason that it's worth reading is because of the characters. The main character's best friend, his name is Dean. He is pretty funny, or at least for most of the book towards the end. He's starting to get basically clinically insane, I think. He's really losing his grip. And then it's not funny anymore, but it's more awkward because you think, shouldn't someone be doing anything about this? I mean, isn't there something that can be done for this guy? You know, he really isn't doing well, and he may be a danger both to himself and to others. But of course, people don't do anything, nobody does anything. He's just left to be on his merry way. I felt that the characters were good, and the setting was intriguing in that it's a sort of a dead world. In my book group we talked about this, could someone live like that today? And we decided that they couldn't really, exactly, because what these guys are doing, they're traveling and supporting themselves by doing odd jobs. Most of those jobs in the United States now have been outsourced to other countries. Those menial jobs and unskilled labor jobs, they're not available any longer. There aren't any such jobs, or very few. So it would be really hard to travel like that, if anyone should want to do it. I guess I'm happy that I read the book, because as I said, it does give an insight into a lost world, but the story was very unrewarding for me. Like I said, it's a quest towards nothing. It's a search with no purpose. So I'm not sure I can recommend it. It wasn't very rewarding for me. It didn't really speak to me. I felt more than anything pity for these young men who basically have pointless lives. But what can I say? It's a classic, and I guess I can see why. But for me personally, it was not a great reading experience. It was interesting, but it wasn't very rewarding, unfortunately. On the Road by Jack Kerouac.